Hello friends, and welcome to Ariel's Twilight Years, how to be a really old model. I'm here today with my friend Eric Kane. Hello Eric Kane.
Hello.
And we're drinking tea.
Yes.
With milk in it, as though we were British.
Yeah.
It's very splendid. Now, other than
it's
drinking...
lovely.
It is lovely, isn't it? Bloody lovely.
Yeah.
Yes. So, the reason I'm here, other than to drink tea with you, is because of your bondage work, which some of the people watching this won't be familiar with because not all of the people who watch my YouTube channel are bondage fans. So I thought, first of all, I'd like you to explain what your product is.
I do fairly extreme bondage videos, I would say.
I think you do. Yes. And the name of your website is?
Futilstruggles.com.
I love it that the way you say futile is completely different from the way I say
futile?
Futile, like
futile.
3 syllables.
Well, yeah.
And you say feudal.
Feudal, yeah.
Which means something completely different in English, which is brilliant.
Okay.
It's like feudalism, like medieval feudalism. Do you know about that?
Yes. Futile struggles.
Futile struggles or feudal struggles. Feudal struggles.
Futile struggles.
Is your website. And so the history of us working together is we've been working together since 2016 when we did an hour-long shoot followed by another hour-long shoot on the next day, which I think is quite typical for you. The first time you work with people, you just do a really short shoot to see how it goes.
I shouldn't say a short shoot, I just do one. I won't schedule more than one set.
Yes, and that's because the work you do is quite niche, and so a lot of models, despite the fact that they've done bondage before, they might not know whether they can do your style.
Right, yeah.
Of bondage.
It's getting better now, but
yes,
more models are looking into my content before they agree. So, but years ago, models would just show up without. They just think I've done bondage, I can do anything.
Totally. So you say your work is quite extreme. What do you mean by that?
I just try and tie off every body part so that there's no movement at all. Like the old bondage videos, the harmony videos before internet, there would be just a half hour of just struggling where they could roll all around the room, and that was just boring to me.
Your work is the opposite of that because you're kind of trying to immobilize people pretty comprehensively.
Yes. If they're able to roll around the room, then it's not good enough.
It's like you've not finished yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've now been working together since 2016 and we've gone on to do a lot more custom videos together. We've done a lot more extended shoots together. And the reason I'm interviewing you now is because you ended up in my book, which isn't published yet, as those of you who've been following this story for a while will know, but it's got an agent. So I couldn't write about all my BDSM experiences in my book because my book would have been 12 volumes long. So I just chose a few which were particularly memorable for me, which included a shoot we did last time we worked together, which for me was fabulous. It was a perfect BDSM shoot. So I wondered if you could tell me what it was like, because the thing that always fascinates me, because we are doing opposite things, like you're a top, I'm a bottom, and we can never really see the experience the way the other person does. And I wondered, when you read the chapter I wrote about you, did it sound in any way familiar? Did it seem like the same experience that you'd been through, or not at all?
I read the chapter, but that was 6 months ago. The part I remember was scaring you when you pulled up.
Now, that was not the answer I wanted Eric to give, so with his permission, I'm just going to translate his reply into what I think he should have said. Which is, when I read the chapter that you wrote about me, I was incredibly moved that you'd taken the time to examine your feelings about our BDSM scene. It was a beautiful thing to read, which I found moving and inspiring, and I was delighted to see that you respect and appreciate me in exactly the way that I respect and appreciate you. It makes our working together even more precious to me and inspires me to want to write a chapter about you. And what a wonderful friendship this is. It almost made me cry. Do you worry that you could never really experience it the way the opposite person does?
Do I work? No.
Okay. No.
No.
I guess that's how you're capable of doing it. Because I think I am always thinking, I hope it's fun for them, I hope they're enjoying it too. And and you want people to enjoy it, but I guess during the actual shoot you're able to switch that off, because if you're worrying too much you can't carry on, I would guess.
Wow, you ask complicated questions.
I do. Shall I simplify them? Like, I know we talked about this a long time ago, and you said that the hardest thing for you is when a new model turns up and she seems really, really nice, but not that into bondage, because then you feel guilty.
Yes.
And you said if someone seems really into it, and you said sometimes if they just seem really horrible, it doesn't matter quite so much.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah, and I thought that's really tricky, because there's probably a lot of people who fall into the category of really, really nice and a bit overwhelmed.
Yes.
And you have to
That's
carry on.
So that's kind of thinned out. Everybody kind of...
Good.
That really doesn't happen anymore. Everybody that I work with now looks at my work or knows of it.
And because you've established your name much better, people are coming to you because of what you're doing rather than hoping it'll be a glamour bondage shoot.
Yes,
I think.
yeah. I would say now I mostly work with models repeatedly, so I really know if they're in real trouble or not.
You are very good at that, yeah. You're very good at that, and I think it's what gives us confidence to do it with you.
And yeah, I'm not so worried because the models I work with actually enjoy the kind of shoot I do. So I know, so I'm not worried about them unless I sense that there's an actual real problem.
Yes, and like you trust them to communicate.
Like last night
last night we were doing a really ambitious tie and I couldn't breathe very well, and I kept thinking, oh my goodness, he's probably going to call cut because I can't breathe very well, but I could breathe. But then the minute I couldn't breathe anymore, I was out, and that is why I think people trust you so much, and rightly, because you are on the ball with that stuff, which is the only thing that makes doing the more extreme stuff possible. And it's a shame that people often want to emulate you, which we'll get onto later, but they don't emulate that part of it. They just emulate the, I'm going to do something really extreme, but I'm not going to put the work into making that safe. So as well as interviewing you, I did want to say thank you to you, because at the point at which we first worked together, I thought I was doing sort of everything I could do, and then I worked with you and it's like I found another gear. There's more that I can do, and I think, I don't know if you would relate to this, but it feels like when you team yourself with the right people, you find you can do stuff that you hadn't realised you could do.
Oh yeah, it's inspirational too.
And you can't replicate it everywhere. But those really good working relationships are just so precious, and that's why it's good to do work together over a long period of time, because I think that just gets better and better. So now when we work together we can plan ahead because we've got more of an idea of what's physically possible, I think.
Yeah.
So thank you. I wanted to say that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think about this a lot from my own perspective, and I'd love to hear what you think. I often look back and think, what would my, say, 18-year-old self think if she could see what I've ended up doing? And I think my teenage self would just be so happy because I didn't know it was possible. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think your 18 or 21-year-old self would think if he could see your work now?
Oh, he'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why isn't this around?
Yeah. And do you think...
because I'm old. When I was 18, there was no internet. No. You had to go find magazines. And
there wasn't much choice, was there?
No. And they were expensive. For somebody, they're the HLMs, the House Milan magazines,
So was the bondage...
It was pretty crappy bondage.
Yeah.
A lot of at least the ones in the 90s were pretty bad. The ones in the 70s were better. The ones in the 90s were pretty bad. But at the time, they were awesome because that's all there was.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think your work has gone in a different direction from what you'd expected when you started doing this? So I know you started doing stills work and then of course moved to video, as we all do commercially. But do you think the you that started this kind of 10 years ago, if you saw what you were doing now, do you think you'd be like, yes, that's what I wanted to produce?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be like, Jesus, what did I turn into?
No.
Good. I'm glad. Okay.
No, I just started off slowly because
you were learning, right?
Yeah.
That you were learning your skills.
Yes, yeah.
And as you have become more skilled, what you are able to do has progressed. Is there still stuff that you want to do that you don't feel like you know how to yet? Or do you think you're getting to the point where you're shooting exactly?
Oh, well, you're always going to learn, and so yeah, it's always good to keep learning.
I liked it. We were talking about this last year, and I said, whose porn do you buy? Because I was talking about the stuff I bought, and you said you really liked your porn that you make. And that made me so happy because I think a lot of us stop enjoying the stuff that we're in.
I go through phases.
That you can see what other people can see in your work, because I think a lot of producers lose that. Someone said to me something interesting about your work a little while ago. They wrote to me and said, oh, well, there's no beauty and elegance in it. And because I'm known for a lot of much more glamorous bondage, I said to him, I see it as beautiful. I see it as beautiful and I see it as elegant. It made me think, do you see it as beautiful? Or do you just see it as sexy?
I see it as art. I don't know if beautiful is the right word, but yeah, there's definitely an art to it.
Because a lot of the stuff you do is very distorting to the human body and to faces. I can see why someone who wasn't into it could look at it and say that's ugly. But I don't find it ugly. I think it's just got its own kind of strange beauty.
I can't explain everything. I don't try to explain
It's exactly what you want to do in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just another part of everything being tied up.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, face bondage, fingers, like everything. I'll just try and keep taking it a step further until we can't anymore. Either the model taps out, or I pretty much got everything complete.
Or until you've created a human statue that can't move at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever think you might be a psychopath?
I never thought that, but I guess...
I mean, I don't want to put that idea in your head. You're not one, I'm sure.
I've been told I'm a safe for society sociopath.
That is beautiful. Do you... I don't think you do, because we've talked about this before. Do you ever feel guilty about your sexual orientation?
No.
Really? That's amazing. Like, I still do sometimes. And I don't think I should, but I still do. And so I'm
like everybody else when I was young, pre-internet, I thought I was the only one, but when I did go to the adult bookstores to see bondage magazines, then I knew, I'm definitely not the only one if there's a magazine for it. So there's at least two.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Did it occur to you though that there'd be women who'd be into it too?
Yeah.
Okay. Because there were women in the magazines, right, who were obviously happy being tied up. Okay. Because I think that even when I realised that being kinky was a thing, I thought I'd probably never manage to find any nice men who were into it. I thought I'd probably be able to find just dangerous, awful men. Yeah. But I didn't think there'd be just nice, kinky men.
Again, without the internet, probably, that's true. Yeah, because you'd be responding to ads in the back of newspapers. And,
We're almost at the end, I promise.
I mean, darn it. I love talking on camera. It's my favorite thing to do in the world.
I can tell how much you like it. But so far, you've been able to understand everything I've said, which is remarkable. I'm talking very loud to help you. I always find it fascinating that you find it quite hard to understand me talking, but you always understand me through a gag.
It's not that I don't understand you talking, it's you have different words for some things, and I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry.
But my hearing isn't great, I'm not good with accents.
So, can you, because I've talked quite a lot about subspace and subdrop on my channel, and it might be impossible. Can you explain what it feels like being in top space?
I would say it's kind of like meditation, where there's not another thought in my mind other than what's going on.
Okay, so like kind of focus.
Like very hyper-focused, and that's how I can tell like when you have a problem.
Is it a good feeling? I hope so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. Because it sounds very, very different from subspace, except for that you're not thinking about anything in the past and you're not thinking about the future, you're just in the moment.
Right, yeah.
So from that point of view, I guess we've got that in common, that it feels like that. Yeah. That there are just no distractions, which is lovely.
Yes, yeah.
So this is my last question. And in some ways it's the most important one, so I wanted to ask you other questions first so that you'd stop freaking out about being interviewed. So we've talked about this before, because since working with you, and the more I work with you, the more it happens, I go to shoots and people say, I want my work to be like Eric Kane's, I want to do work like his. And then it emerges that they can't even tie or hog tie, and I have to help them. So there's a bit of an issue with people seeing work on the internet and wanting to emulate it because it inspires them, which is great. But given that there are a lot of people who I have met and who you hear from who want to do work like you, What do you think the advice you would give them would be? What should they do first if they want to end up doing stuff like you?
Just go slow, learn all the basics, go to some, even if you don't want to do shibari, you'll go and you'll learn things that will apply. Go to the shibari cons, or there used to be a shibari con that I went to.
Or like rope
it's
classes.
Gone now, but I'm sure there's others.
And there are rope classes everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, Fat Life, get on there, just look at the events in your area. Rope classes everywhere. Just start off with simple stuff.
And like learn to do that well.
And just keep building up. Yeah,
that's
basically
the main thing. That I would really like to say to them that if you're looking to give a sub an experience, it doesn't have to be total immobilization, nipple clamps and face hooks. Mm-hmm. You can get them to the same place emotionally with well applied, really simple bondage. It doesn't have to be everything. And it's certainly, you will never make anyone trust you, and you'll certainly never give them a good experience if you try to do all of it when you don't know how yet. Mm. So I think that's really good advice. Just go to actual classes or go and get actual experience. Start off doing basic stuff and work up gradually.
If you can find somebody to tie up, just start off with the basics and ask them.
Yeah, totally.
And find somebody that's serious, or somebody that will tell you the truth.
Once the cameras were off Eric and he was no longer under pressure, he elaborated on this answer quite a bit, so I wanted to add what he said because I think it's very important. He said, in addition to learning his skills slowly and only putting stuff on screen when he was capable of doing it well, he also said that he always plays every scene that he's about to do out in his mind, and basically does a mental risk assessment to see what could possibly go wrong at every point in the scene and what he can do to mitigate that risk. And having worked with him a lot, the evidence that he does that is all over his work, that unexpected things don't tend to happen, and when they do, he reacts very, very fast. The other thing he said, which I thought was both relevant and very impressive, was that for the first 5 years that he was doing this, he watched all of his footage every time with a view to seeing if he did anything wrong, if he narrowly averted any disasters, if there was anything he could have done differently that would have made the ties safer, and if there was anything he could learn from what he did in that scene that he could take on to his next scene to make it better and safer for the participants. And I think this is also at the heart of what makes him such a safety conscious and trustworthy rigger and producer, and I would certainly encourage other people to emulate those things about him, not just how tight he ties. So those were the most relevant things that he added off screen, and I thought it was only fair to share them with you because I want my community and industry to be safe, and whether you're tying people up commercially or just tying up your play partners in private, a risk-aware attitude is an incredibly valuable thing to have, because when we tie people up, we do potentially have their lives in our hands, and if we don't take that seriously, then things can go terribly wrong. Thank you, Eric Kane. Thank you for letting me interview you, and thank you for letting me write about you in my book. You're the first person from my book that I've interviewed, and I'm hoping to go on and do more. So it was really nice to start with you because the chapter with you was one of the last things I wrote, and I was really happy with it because it kind of encapsulated where I am as a BDSM model now. So thank you for joining me on Ariel's Twilight Years. I hope you very much enjoyed that, dear everyone. Please comment below, I will get right back to you, and I will share your comments also with Eric, and I'll be back next month with more very fun things. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye! Bye-bye! Bye-bye now.